Okay, so no major talking points from this week, but next week is looking very, very interesting. USD longs, yen pair longs. I'm very, very interested to see if we can get some continuation trades on those pairs. So let's get into it. So we'll start with the DXY and the USD crosses. Now, this is the DXY on our screen, and we can see the consistent higher highs and higher lows price has been making over the past few weeks. And this does make me very bullish. This is the daily time frame, by the way. So the market's been very consistent with these higher highs and higher lows, and now we're looking at pullback back into structure, and pretty much price has been continuing this pattern since the initial up move. We've had a push, a pullback, a retest the price structure, push, pullback, retest the price structure, another push, pullback, retest the price structure, now another push, and it looks like potentially another retest the price structure. So nothing really crazy, pretty textbook here from the DXY. As long as we maintain this momentum, we do have a really nice sloping trend line here. Let's make that so we can see it. It's looking very, very bullish. So to specify the areas which I'm looking for longs, it would be the retest of the high here, or if we come a little bit deeper, the retest of this consolidation below us. So 99.4, and if I scale to the 4-hour chart, around 99.2. Either of those two zones I'm liking for the longs. I don't want to see us break through the counter trend line. That would be a bit of a red flag. So for the DXY and USD, I'm very bullish. So if we take the information to other USD crosses, Euro dollar, I'm looking at shorts. In fact, Euro USD has just about tested the zone I'm interested in. So I'm looking for opportunities early next week. If I drop to the 4-hour chart, I like that we've come into that zone. I'm going to be focused on this high here. I don't really like taking trades on Friday, but if price can push lower, show that we are seeing some healthy rejection from the zone, push back into the high, preferably take the high, then I'm looking for some shorts back into this swing low, and even further, if things go very well, back into the low here, which we were describing last week as well. If we scale to pound USD, same idea, except pound USD is not really close to testing a key zone like Euro, so I'm going to be a bit more interested in Euro USD shorts next week. But it's the same idea, and we do have a zone. Price is testing here. It's just the breakout is not big enough for the significance of the level. We had a really big reaction here. I like to see a more meaningful breakout if I am going to look for a retest. So Euro is looking a lot more attractive, but if you are trading pound USD, I would definitely keep an eye on this zone just above 1.315, and also this zone up here, to be a bit more specific, this low here around 1.327 if we do see that pullback next week. Another USD pair I'm going to be interested on is dollar CAD. Really aggressive move, creating new highs, and now price is having pretty deep pullback, and I like this zone here. Brief pause on the lower time frames before we did continue with some strength early last week or this week. Now price is coming back to retest it, so a similar case to Euro, looking for a bit of a bounce to show evidence that buyers are holding, push back into the low and expecting a lot more upside. So keep a close eye on this zone around 1.403, and again expecting more upside primarily off that USD strength. And if we take a look at gold and silver, I don't really have too much to say because price action has been very flat. This is the daily chart and how it's looking. Momentum at the moment is pointing down, so I would have that slight bearish tone, but I'm not over the moon to be shorting. I do think other pairs look better and are more probable opportunities because of gold. We are still in that massive uptrend. In the bigger scale of things, of course, recently we have been trending down. So I did say shorts do look good back at the high here of this range. If price can push back into the high, naturally that's a smart place for a short. You're on the side of momentum right now, and it's a smart place for an entry and a stop loss. Likewise with silver, very flat market as well. As you can see with silver, we are consolidating here too. So not a lot of information price has given us over the past few days here, especially last week. We've just been stuck in that range. So again, there could be opportunities within the range, shorting the highs, buying the lows. But in terms of trend following, we really need to see price break out well, either up or down, and then we can be a bit more detailed about our continuation opportunity. So silver and gold, not really interested as long as we're in that range. Yes, shorts, highs and lows, but nothing really in terms of trend momentum. So focusing more on the USD crosses. And onto the yen pairs. Yen pairs I really like. We've had a bit of a drop this week, but I do think that's just a bit of a fake out, taking out some early buys for us to then progress next week and potentially the week after as well. I'm still super bearish on the yen. If we have a quick look at the yen basket, You can see if we zoom out, this is still a very bearish market here, so I wouldn't be looking to flip my bias anytime soon. Of course, if structure does break and we do see a meaningful move to the upside, breaking through highs, of course I'm going to revisit my bias, but that's just not the case right now. So pound yen, still looking at more upside. Looks like we've come back down to fill the gap there, and that potentially could be a big boost in terms of buys collecting at that area. Now potentially you might see the continuation. I've always said for pound yen, as long as price stays above this low, I remain bullish. So in terms of opportunities, because pound is a bit of a range, I actually did miss an entry this week on pound yen, but because this is essentially the low of our range, if we can come back and retest that, now it looks like price has gained that low and respected it. If we could see price pull back and continue, that could be a smart place for some entries and some stops below, because it doesn't look like price is going to return back to this low here. So this is the more feasible opportunity, especially you're well placed too, and hopefully looking for a bigger swing. Some of the other yen pairs to keep an eye on, Euro yen, I like the buys as well. We had a bit of a push underneath this low this week, but again, I think that's a bit of a shakeout. The trend looks very strong on the daily chart to me. So again, looking for more opportunities. It would be nice to see us come back and retest this, just like we did midweek. If not, I would say keep an eye on the retest of this high. I would preferably want a slightly bigger breakout before I would look for the retest. But again, the idea is momentum is picking back up again. We're looking to find buying opportunities on those intraday timeframes. Swiss yen looks good as well. I would say we would want price to be above resistance here, because that could be a bit of a nuisance with the trade. We might start to fluctuate there. I would actually like to pick up some Swiss yen longs at the low here. If we have a bearish start to the week, I like the idea of picking up some longs at that low. And also dollar yen looking very bullish too, and looking at a similar idea. If price can sweep back to the low here, I think that could be a really nice opportunity for some entries, some stops underneath those lows, because it looks to me that price again just having another corrective move. We've got a big demand zone to our left there. I'm expecting price to hold that and continue, especially if USD is going to be strong. Dollar yen could be a big mover in the next few weeks. So very, very bullish on the yen pairs still. In terms of some of the crosses, I really like pound Aussie to the downside. Momentum's been picking up with this one. We've had a really strong push on Thursday, but that doesn't really change anything in terms of direction. I'm still looking at, again, the major structure to point me in the right direction. And if that structure does change, that's when I'll change with it. But this is still very much pointing down. So despite the bullish momentum we've had over the past couple of days or so, I'm still looking at opportunities to sell it. I generally do like anything within this range here, because this is our last pullback, which gave us the down move. I know it's a very, very big zone, but generally speaking, price could roll over anywhere from here. But I'm going to be a bit more specific and focus on this brief supply zone, which we've just tested again, similar to euro. I'm looking for price to bounce off that, push back into that high next week, and that's what I'm looking for my entries as we take out that high. So I want to be high up, trading from key zones like this supplier, which gave us a real big drop, and then looking for hopefully the continuation back to the prior low. But there'll probably be some other levels you can secure partials at the very least along the way. Another one of the crosses I do like, New Zealand CAD. This one's looking very, very bearish, especially after this week's price action. As you can see, a really strong close to the day there, and also go to the weekly chart, a very strong close to the week there. It looks like at this point this low is likely to be taken out. Momentum is slowly picked up. It's been a very grindy move, but eventually momentum is picking up. So again, just keeping it very simple. If momentum is pointing down, we want to find opportunities for price to pull back against that momentum into a key area and then keep shorting it. All we're looking to do is ride that momentum here. So a really, really impressive break to the downside there. No even retest this week of this low. Price was just super bearish. Nice pullback, but just continued. So again, hopefully this week we can get a more meaningful pullback and a retest. And there's still quite a bit of room to the downside to go and take out that weekly swing low there. So New Zealand CAD definitely want to watch, especially if you're looking to trade momentum. A lot of follow through there with New Zealand CAD. Okay, so in terms of the US major indices, things are still looking very bullish. That has been the analysis and the point of view. Again, looking at the daily chart there, consistent higher highs and higher lows. We pull back into a nice area of demand here. Brief pause, strong push to the upside. Really aggressive wick on Friday. That probably would have done a good job at taking out some people earlier in the week, buying the market, taking out that low, and then a really aggressive push. I'm looking at this potentially being the new bottom of this pullback. So in terms of opportunities, it would be nice to see price correct back to basically the low that we swept. because if that is the case, if this is going to be low, we don't want to see price, of course, revisit this. If it does, it probably isn't the low. So if this is going to be the low, we need to anticipate that support is going to hold. So we need to watch price, especially a bit more intraday, like hourly or even lower, to see how we react with this zone. If we can hold, that would be a smart place for an entry, stop loss below, and you could position yourself for a really big swing back to highs. You could wait for the more conservative idea, which is basically looking at, where's my channel tool? Has it disappeared, or am I going? Yeah, there it is. As you can see, prices being in a channel here. What you could wait for, especially with the indices, is waiting for momentum to really step up, break out this channel, and then you probably will find some lower time frame, really quick flag patterns to trade that momentum back to highs. Because once the indices get going, they really do get going. So if you're not trying to pick the low and try and find the more aggressive but the bigger risk reward trade, if you're looking for more momentum, wait for that momentum to kick in, wait for the breakout of this channel, and then look for opportunities on pullbacks, especially intraday, back to the highs there. So I am pretty bullish on the indices. Again, using that higher time frame, confidence of that trend to our advantage, knowing that probably price is going to find a higher low soon, and especially with the aggressive wick there on Friday, I think that's done a good job at taking out some earlier buys from this week, and now we're seeing momentum really pick up. So similar to the S&P as well, we're back above this low. You can see price was holding a lot of support there. We broke through, then recovered. That for me is a big sign that, okay, this support level is back holding. If we can stay above that, don't break back underneath, but stay above that, that's a meaningful place for a buy. Or again, you can go for the more conservative route, which is, okay, we have been in a bit of a bearish climate here for the S&P. I don't really want to be buying in these conditions, so you could wait for price to then break out, show momentum, start creating higher highs and higher lows again, and then look for your more kind of momentum-based pullbacks on the intraday chart, which is a simple idea. Momentum's on your side, you don't have to think too much. This is the more kind of aggressive, but if it plays out, you could be well positioned for a big pullback. And if you look at the NASDAQ, same situation there, although this one hasn't recovered the low yet. So I would wait for a bit more momentum on the NASDAQ. Still the same kind of situation on the daily chart. Demand area to our left gave us the last high. We've pulled back into there. Really big wick rejection. So it looks like that zone is holding, but equally so, the market is still making lower lows and lower highs, and we're still below that level. So I would like to see NASDAQ push aggressively above that zone. Again, similar to the US 30 S&P, hold that level, then look for continuation, or again, more conservative route, waiting for new highs to be created, and then look for some intraday pullbacks. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just more conservative, more aggressive, bigger risk reward, higher win rate situations. It's about trader tolerance and what you're kind of after. But in terms of direction, US indices still pointing up, so still very, very bullish going into next week. And in the world of the cryptocurrencies, it's been a bit mixed this week. We haven't really progressed much. It started off pretty bearish, actually. So overall, I still think this is a pretty bearish climate. Again, I do think this is just a big correction for price to continue higher. As you can see on the weekly chart, we're looking a lot more bullish, even if I add a 50 EMA pointing up, even coming back for a retest of that prior moving average. And last time we did that, we had a really big bounce. Last time we did that as well, a pretty big bounce. So overall, this is still a very bullish market, and higher highs and higher lows in the bigger picture is still being maintained. So that's why I'm still very bullish. If you're looking for some shorts, I do think there's opportunities here as we push back into price structure. I like the consolidation here, really strong move down. Price at the moment is kind of consolidating here. If we could rally higher back into this 107, 108, 108K zone, I think that's a smart place for some shorts. And funny enough, a lot of the other cryptocurrencies are showing similar opportunities. Ethereum, nice strong push to the downside this week. Again, looking for a retest of this zone for more downside. The EMA on the daily is kind of curving there, but always being careful with the shorts, not looking for anything crazy, because as price does sweep these lows, you can see we do quickly revert back to the upside. So new low is swept, we come back up. New low is swept, we come back up. New low is swept. I'm expecting us to see some upside, and hence why I do think we can look for some shorts up there. BTC the same thing. XRP not so much because we had this crazy move which kind of skewed things, but altogether price is having a trouble at the lows here and trouble at the highs. So I wouldn't be looking to short XRP, I do think Ethereum and BTC are the better shorts if we do get that pullback. XRP to me looks quite flat, and if anything, it's not a bad place for a long. If we can continue to respect support, this might be a smart place to find an entry and find a stop loss underneath, because you're just taking advantage of a range there. So XRP, I can understand some longs there, but BTC and Ethereum, I can understand some longs looking to try and counter that momentum, but I do think the more meaningful move now is with these lower highs, which have been pretty continuous with over the past few weeks. So cryptocurrency is a bit more downside probably, but still looking for that long-term move soon. And finally, for my top 3 setups for next week, it has to be Euro USD to the downside, pull back into a nice zone. We've got that dollar bullish sentiment coming to the market. If we can respect this zone, there's a lot of room to the downside. So eyes peeled on Euro USD shorts. Also dollar yen, I really like this one as well because I'm pretty bearish on the yen and now becoming a lot more bullish on USD as well. So potentially you've got a very strong currency against a weak one. Again, especially if you can sweep the lows there, I think that's a great place to position yourself long and potentially take it back to highs and further. And also pound Aussie as well. One of the crosses, I like momentum here, really commanding move down past couple of weeks. This to me just looks like a pullback of that wave, and now we've tested the key supply zone there as well. So if you can push back to the high, respect it well, get stop loss above the highs there, could be looking at a pretty big risk reward just for a push back to the lows, and I think we can go a lot further as well. So those are the top 3 setups to keep an eye out, and especially banking on that USD strength. As long as you maintain that slope on the DXY, there is room to the upside. So guys, if you want to see how these setups play out and if we can catch some opportunities next week, make sure you stick through the streams next week, Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. UK time as always. I do appreciate all the likes, subscriptions, comments you guys do leave. I do really appreciate that. If you have enjoyed the video, of course, make sure you do drop a like and check out the channel memberships. If you want to support the channel further, there are trade ideas that I post there. I also post members only videos. So if you're interested, give that a check out as well. But besides from that, thank you for watching. Have a great weekend and I'll see you all in the next one.